Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque is one of the architectural masterpieces of Safavid Iranian architecture, standing on the eastern side of Naghsh-i Jahan Square, Isfahan, Iran. Construction of the mosque started in 1603 and was finished in 1619. It was built by the chief architect Sheikh Bahai, during the reign of Shah Abbas I of the Safavid dynasty. History of the four monuments that dominated the perimeter of the Naghsh-i Jahan Square, this one was the first to be built. The purpose of this mosque was for it to be a private mosque of the royal court, unlike the Masjid, which was meant for the public. For this reason, the mosque does not have any minarets and is of a smaller size. Indeed, few Westerners at the time of the Safavids even paid any attention to this mosque, and they certainly did not have access to it. It wasn't until centuries later, when the doors were opened to the public, that ordinary people could admire the effort that Shah Abbas had put into making this a sacred place for the ladies of his harem, and the exquisite tilework, which is far superior to those covering the Shah Mosque. To avoid having to walk across the Maidan when getting to the mosque, Shah Abbas had the architect build a tunnel spanning across the piazza, from the Ali Qapu Palace, to the mosque. When reaching the entrance of the mosque, one would have to walk through a passage that winds round and round, until one finally reaches the main building. Along this passage there were standing guards, and the obvious purpose of this design was for the women of the harem to be shielded as much as possible from anyone entering the building. At the main entrance of the mosque there were also standing guards, and the doors of the building were kept closed at all times. Today, these doors are open to visitors, and the passage traversing underneath the field is no longer in use. Sheikh Lotfollah. Throughout history, this mosque has been referred to by different names. For Junibadi it was the mosque with the Great Dome and the Domed Mosque, while contemporary historian Iskandar Munshi named it the Mosque of Great Purity and Beauty. On the other hand, European travelers, such as Jean Chardin, referred to the mosque using the current name, and Arabic inscriptions within the mosque, done by calligrapher Bakir Bani, also include the name of Sheikh Lotfollah. In addition, the reckonings of Mahib Ali Beg, the imperial treasure holder, show that the imam's salary came directly from the imperial household resources. All this suggests that not only was the building indeed named after Sheikh Lotfollah, but also that this famous imam was among the first prayer leaders for the royal court in this very mosque. Architecture. The entry gateway, like those of the Grand Bazaar and the Masjid, was a recessed half-moon. Also, like in the Masjid, the lower facade of the mosque and the gateway are constructed of marble, while Bahaftarangi tiles decorate the upper parts of the structure. Creation of the calligraphy and tiles, which exceed, in both beauty and quality, anything created beforehand in the Islamic world, was overseen by master calligrapher Ali Reza Abbasi. The monument's architect was Muhammad Reza Isfahan, who solved the problem of the difference between the direction of Qibla and gateway of the building by devising an L-shaped connecting vestibule between the entrance and the enclosure. Reza Abbasi's inscription on the entry gateway gives the date of the start of construction. The north-south orientation of the Maidan does not agree with southwest direction of Qibla. It is set at 45 degrees to it. This feature, called Pashna in Persian architecture, has caused a standing the dome not directly behind the entrance Iwan. Its single-shell dome is 13 meters in diameter. The exterior side is richly covered with tiles. Compared with the Shah Mosque, the design of the Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque is quite simple. There is no courtyard and there are no interior Iwans. The building itself consists of a flattened dome resting on a square dome chamber, though, in contrast to the simple structure of this mosque, the decoration of both interior and exterior is exceedingly complex, and in its construction the finest materials were used and the most talented craftsmen employed. Robert Byron wrote about this site, I know of no finer example of the Persian Islamic genius than the interior of the dome. The dome is inset with a network of lemon-shaped compartments, which decrease in size as they ascend towards the formalized peacock at the apex. The mihrab in the west wall is enameled with tiny flowers on a deep blue meadow. Each part of the design, each plane, each repetition, each separate branch or blossom has its own somber beauty. But the beauty of the whole comes as you move. Again, the highlights are broken by the play of glazed and unglazed surfaces, so that with every step they rearrange themselves in countless shining patterns. I have never encountered splendor of this kind before. The peacock at the center of the interior side of the dome is one of the unique characteristics of the mosque. If you stand at the entrance gate of the inner hall and look at the center of the dome, a peacock, whose tail is the sun rays coming in from the hole in the ceiling, can be seen. At the interior side of the dome, the aesthetic purpose of the long, low, gloomy passage leading to the dome chamber becomes evident, for it is with a sense of heightened anticipation that one enters the sanctuary. Lowness gives way to soaring height and gloom is dispelled by the steady illumination of nearly a score of windows. Barbara has described it in this way. The turquoise cable modeling of an arch is seen below the dome, in which concentric rings of 32 lozenges diminish in size as they approach a center, which gives an impression of luminosity. The design, which suggests both movement and stillness, is a powerful though not an explicit vehicle of religious symbolism. Speaking of the harmony of the universe, the support system of dome is illustrated by 8 great arches of turquoise tilework in cable form which rise from a low dado to the full height of the wall, 4 in the position of squinches and 4 against the side walls. Between them are kite-shaped squinches pendentives. Within the dome, ranks of units of tilework of vogi mandorla form a set in a lattice of plain brick and diminish in size until they meet a central sun bust, patterned with a tracery of arabesque. The structure of the dome of Lotfollah Mosque and that of Blue Mosque of Tabriz is believed to be derived from that of Shah Wali Mosque of Taft, Yazd. The tiling design of this mosque, as well as that of Shah Mosque and other Persian mosques of even before Safavid period, seems to be not completely symmetrical, particularly in colors of patterns. They have been described as intentional, symmetrical asymmetries. Architects of the complex were Sheikh Bahai and Ustad Muhammad Reza Isfahan. The building was completed in 1618. Art design of our double rugs was from the same concept as that of the interior side of the dome. Also design of the Carpet of Wonders, which will be the biggest carpet of the world, is based on the interior design of the dome. It has been suggested that concepts of the mystic philosopher Suhrawardi about the unity of existence was possibly related to this pattern at the interior side of the dome. Ali Reza Abbasi, the leading calligrapher at the court of Shah Abbas, has decorated the entrance, above the door, with majestic inscriptions with the names and titles of Shah Abbas, the Husseini and the Musavi, that is, the descendants of Imams Hussein and Musa. The inscriptions of the mosque reflect matters that were preoccupying the Shah around the time it was built, namely the need to define Twelver Shi'ism, in contrast to Sunni Islam, and the Persian resistance to Ottoman invasion. The running inscription in white tile on blue ground on the exterior drum of the dome, visible to the public, consists of 3 surahs from the Quran, Al-Shams, Al-Insan and Al-Kawthar. The surahs emphasize the rightness of a pure soul and the fate in hell of those who reject God's way, most likely referring to the Ottoman Turks. Entering the prayer chamber, one is confronted with walls covered with blue, yellow, turquoise and white tiles with intricate arabesque patterns. Quranic verses appear in each corner while the east and west walls contain poetry by Sheikh Bahai. Around the mihrab are the names of the 12 Shia Imams, and the inscription contains the names of Sheikh Lotfollah, Ustad Muhammad Reza Isfahan, and Bakir al-Banai. Turning right at the entrance to the domed prayer chamber, one first encounters the full text of Surah 98, Al-Bayinah, the clear proof. The message of this chapter is that clear evidence of the true scripture was not available to the people of the book until God sent his messenger, Muhammad. The horizontal band of script at the bottom of the arch is not Quranic, but states that God's blessings are on the martyrs. Thus, Shia invocation echoes the Quranic verses in its stress on the truthfulness of God's message. The poem of Sheikh Baha'i on the right wall prays for help from the 14 Immaculate Ones, while the inscriptions on the interior of the dome emphasize the virtues of charity, prayer and honesty, as well as the correctness of following Islam and its prophets versus the error of other religions. The specifically Shiite passages and the prominent placement in the mihrab, on the two lateral walls and in the horizontal bands of each corner, underscore the preeminence of this creed in Safavid Iran. The fact that two poems by Sheikh Baha'i, a devoted Sufi, grace the walls of Shah Abbas' private mosque, proves that, although some Sufi elements in the empire were suppressed, Sufism as a general phenomenon continued to play an important role in the Safavid society. Gallery. Front view, as seen from the balcony of the Ali Qapu Palace. Details of the interior design of Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque. Interior wall and ceiling. Interior of the dome. Mihrab. Tiles. Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque entry gateway. The inscriptions on the dome is written by the famous calligrapher Ali Reza Abbasi, in Thuluth and Nastaliq styles. Naghsh-i Jahan Square at night.